agree with this, but I think that maybe today's left, its rhetoric is even not militant enough. Maybe we are all too much blackmailed by this liberal ideology. Well, the worst thing is violence. So, how should I put it? Okay, of course, war, I know, I agree. War is a problem of its own, but nonetheless, how should I put it? We should not be afraid of the rhetoric of struggle and so on. But if you ask me here, okay, my question would have been here, my answer would have been this one. You see, this is again an example. It's really like this false ideological choice. What we should address is the way the choice is presented to us, either fundamentalism or Western parliamentarism and so on. I mean, obviously something is missing, the left alternative and so on, no? I mean, the way things are presented today, it is as if the only choice is this one. And so there are many things, of course, to do here. Not just to oppose these measures, but the first thing absolutely to do here, I think, is to point out how almost all figures which are designated as axis of evil and so on were somehow connected to, created through United States themselves. I mean, even some conservative Americans now admit what was the big fatal mistake of the United States. That at a certain point, towards the end of the Cold War, they made a catastrophic decision that to contain communism, they should support Islamists. And this was not only in Iraq, Afghanistan, even in Palestine and Israel. It's a true tragedy if you go there. Like 20, 30 years ago, among the Palestinians, you still had a strong secular movement. Now, this movement practically disappeared. I mean, if you look into the background, but again, I'm not talking about some leftist accusations which are not proven. I try to be here as honest as possible in the sense of referring to media which everybody should believe, although they also lie in their way. But, for example, I read in New York Times, do you know that Israel, till about 5 years ago, financed Hamas? You know why? Because they thought that their big enemy is United Palestinian Front, Arafat, so anything came handy just to weaken Arafat, so they were financing Hamas and so on. I mean, the situation is so confused and tragic at this level, but so that I don't get lost. My basic motto would have been this one. Don't allow the enemy to define the terrain of the struggle. It's not that if the enemy says A, we have to say the opposite. To give you an example, family values. When American conservatives talk about how, you know, today's secular civilization, we are losing family values and so on, then the usual leftist reaction is, no, it's oppressive, patriarchy, we should assert homosexual marriages and so on. Of course, I'm for all that. But I don't think this is the true counterattack. The true counterattack should be, look who is talking. What right do you have to talk about family values? Every minimal sociological analysis will tell you that the so-called Reaganomics, this turn towards whatever you call it, postmodern economy in the United States, did more to destroy family values than all the leftist hedonistic movements together. So, you know what I mean? Like, we should be much more radical, even with the term fundamentalism. I think there are two totally different phenomena confused there. We have fundamentalism like American moral majority and so on. I think they are a disgrace to true fundamentalism. They are ridiculous media personalities. True fundamentalists are for me figures like, I don't know, maybe some of them, some Tibetan Buddhists, some Amish. You know how you recognize them? They don't envy. the American typical or West European fundamentalists, they're always obsessed with what is going out there in the hedonist circles, orgies, enjoying, and so on. But I met them once, I don't idealize them, the Amish in the United States. They have the highest incest rate in percentage. But something fascinated me. They are extremely conservative fundamentalists. But they don't have a problem with others around them. They respect, they just look upon the others as the one who lost their way. Okay, let them live. You know, you immediately feel the difference. So again, it is more important than ever not to allow the enemy to determine the terrain of the struggle. We should not. We should, how do you put it, even some leftists in the West, for example, if United States talk about democracy, human rights, and so on, they are paranoid. Oh, human rights are a plot against human rights or Hague Tribunal. It's a plot of the imperialist countries, so let's reject them. No, I think sometimes it's much more intelligent to turn their own mechanisms against them. For example, the Hague Tribunal. The moment of truth was for me Pinochet, and then something very precise happens. At that point, 5 years ago, he was still a leftist. Christopher Hitchens wrote a wonderful book on Henry Kissinger, where he simply demonstrated that if using the same standards as they are used for Milosevic and so on, Henry Kissinger is a war criminal. No, and he has a very precise case. Before even coup against Allende in Chile, René Schneider, the defense minister or chief of headquarters, was killed directly in coordination with United States. CIA even provided the arms. He was killed as a chief of staff, not because of his politics. He wasn't a communist, he wasn't even a leftist. He was only a pure liberal legalist. He would never condone a coup d'etat. He had to be killed. And he found what in the United States they call a smoking gun. Hitchens found a document signed by Kissinger which said, yes, do it, and he signed the order ordering CIA to give the arms to the killer. So it's a clear case of a murder. It's not even this abstract bombing. Killing of a person who was democratically elected, who, even if you are an anti-communist paranoiac and say we have to kill communists, the guy wasn't a communist, nobody even suspected that he was, and then it was total panic. Kissinger for some time stopped to visit Europe because Hitchens already organized some lawyers that he wanted Kissinger arrested, no, and then to call embarrassment. But I think that this scandal and also the arrest of Pinochet they were incredibly important. So again, I think it's very important to, how should I put it, to know how to play this game. For example, I'm of course totally opposed to all these rockets and all this stuff and so on and so on. But let's not allow them. What I don't know. You should tell me. What are their argument that we are naive, that we play Putin's game or whatever, this stuff and so on. I mean. You know what I mean? We should, it's so important. That's, for me, the true terrain of dictatorship. In this sense, I would put it Leninistically, democracy is also a dictatorship. Not in this primitive sense that there is some hidden committee who steers, but in the sense that we can freely debate, but who determines the very, how should I put it, terrain of the debate? How problems are formulated and so on. There, I think we should be radical. And here, from what I heard, I have great hope in these demonstrations. I think they are much more important. Potentially, I think they will avoid the trap that I was making fun of the English left.